Okay, let's try this again. Hello, people of the interwebs. Welcome back to my Let's Play of Klonoa Door to Phantomile for RGOGNOCA, really good old games no one cares about. I am WanderGirl108, and, I have some things to say. So, first and foremost, I want to apologize for the previous video. I don't like that my channel has been on hiatus with that being my last upload for any stretch of time. I have no real excuses. I was tired for some reason, and I spent all the energy I didn't have on freaking out about those things that I hate. One sec. I love how these two characters only appear in this chapter, this half of this vision, but you already immediately get a distinct sense of personality. I love it. Hey, random child who just walked into our temple. Can you please save us all? And yeah, that's all we get here. So anyway, yeah, I want to apologize about those things that I hate. Which I looked them up on the wiki after that episode. The ploum? Is that how you would pronounce the word I'm putting on the screen right now? I don't know. Let me know how you think that's supposed to be pronounced. I genuinely don't know why they bother me so much, but I have never. I've played this game 3 times, and even the first time, I have never been able to encounter those things and not very vocally freak out. I think, just a hunch here, I think part of the reason why they bother me so much is that I can't figure out why they bother me so much. Like, by all accounts, they should be cute. You know, they've got their little antenna and their little ghosty tails and their tongues sticking out. Like, they should be cute. I don't know why I hate them. But I really do. I don't know why, and I'm sorry. And that flying moo just kind of screwed me over. Can we not do that again, sir? Please? So yeah, I'm sorry about that. Unfortunately, the ploum will return in the final chapter, but it will not return in this video. So, there's that at least. Here we go. There we go. But I do need to apologize. I know I was annoying, and I was either being annoying or I was being salty. Neither of which is good. And, you know, that video has 0 likes, and I am not upset about that. I didn't deserve anything for that video. Anyway, we're here now. Or at least we're trying to be. So, I've tried several times to make this video. And the reason it always fails is because at the end of this section of this video is going to be a boss fight that is just annoying. Like, it's not a good fight, and I'm going to explain why it's not. But suffice to say, there will be a cut at the end of the video because it's going to take me a long time to get that jerk. Anyway, in the meantime, stuff has happened since the last time I recorded a video that actually was uploaded. This is hopefully this is it. This is the first time I'm recording, or it hopefully will be, since my channel privileges got revoked. Which, yeah, that just kind of appeared out of nowhere one day. It doesn't seem to have had any effect on how I normally interact with YouTube, so I don't really care that much. But I have theories. I have some theories as to what's going on there. And I am going to explain them from least to most likely, if you will indulge me, because I promised some conspiracy theories. Or most to least likely, actually. I'm sorry, that's what I'm doing. First I'm going to tell you what I think is actually going on, and then I'm going to float some other possibilities by that I just thought were kind of funny to think about. So, after I got the message saying, you know, you have lost executive privileges on your channel, blah, blah, whatever, I did a little bit of research. Oh, and this part kind of is annoying. Ugh. Don't worry, I'll figure this out. Anyway, I did a little bit of research. And from what I've found, based on a couple of Reddit threads, this is something that just happens to channels randomly. And the general consensus is that Google is farming for personal identification information and for face videos to train AI, to train their AI bots, basically. Because the thing is, I got the message and it said, you have poor channel history, so your executive privileges are being revoked. This may have happened because you violated content guidelines. But we understand we get things wrong sometimes, so in order to get your channel privileges back, please provide us with identification information or a video confirming or a video of your face. So that's already kind of suspicious. Yeah. So most likely it is them just farming for data, which seems even more likely in light of recent events, as it seems. Look at these guys. Have we seen these guys? It's been so many times I tried and failed to record this video. I genuinely don't know. These dudes with the spike ball yo-yos. I should probably have looked them up when I was looking up the Ploum. Anyway, they're cool. In light of recent events where apparently YouTube is about to roll out some AI bots that are going to decide based on your history whether or not you're 18 or older. And the only way to opt out is by providing your personal information, which questionable at best. But personally, I don't think that's going to be as bad as it sounds. I mean, it sounds bad, and it is, don't get me wrong. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as it sounds, mostly because this is not the first big YouTube is about to be ruined scare that I've lived through. Which, speaking of which, conspiracy theory number 2 as to why my channel privileges got revoked. It's very coincidental that it actually is relevant to that. Does anyone remember the big COPPA scare from 10 years ago? Where there was this big to-do about content being made for children or not. And everyone was afraid that channels were going to get demonetized because of, like, if they had bright colors or something. I remember that. I forgot about it because that came and went and nothing really came of that. You know, nothing really happened there. But that was a thing about 10 years ago. And it occurred to me that my channel... So, my channel is not made for children, per se. I am playing games that I either did or would have, in this case, enjoyed as a child. My games are very child friendly. My parents were very strict with what I was and wasn't allowed to play and watch when I was a kid. And on this channel, I avoid swearing. I'm actually a horrible potty mouth in real life, but I try not to swear here. And anytime I accidentally do, I cut it out of the video. Just because it's not necessary, and I really do need to stop, honestly. It's so unnecessary. So, while my videos are not quote-unquote made for children, they are child-friendly. I want my videos to be watchable by anyone, because the thing I'm doing here is I just want to show off some really cool old games that have been kind of lost to time, that I think deserve more love than they get, no matter how much love they get. And, most of the time I'm assuming, most of the time when I'm recording, I basically assume that I'm speaking to my peers. People who also grew up with this generation of game, because I'm only playing PS1 games. So I talk as though I'm talking to my peers, millennials, and we're not kids anymore. But if a child were to watch these videos, they wouldn't come across anything that would, offend their sensibilities, and hopefully maybe even say, huh, this old game I missed out on looks kind of good. I want to look into that more. But, the games I play are colorful and cartoony. They do have the bright colors moniker. I avoid swearing. The games are kid-friendly. So I can see a bot looking at my videos and saying, this content looks like it's made for children. Because people don't seem to understand that children's entertainment can be enjoyed by adults too. There's a quote I saw a while ago that really sums it up. I couldn't put it better myself. Something by C.S. Lewis, I believe it is. There is no story worth reading at age 10 that is not equally worth reading, if not more so, at age 50. A children's story that can only be enjoyed by children is not a good children's story at all. And yeah, really couldn't have put it better myself. These old games that I loved as a kid, part of what makes them so great and why I want to spotlight them is because they're still great. They're still fun and interesting and just generally good. There's a trick here, which I always seem to forget. Every time I record this place, I always forget how to do this particular trick. There is a trick. Okay, I remember it now. I remember. But anyway, the thing is, YouTube doesn't have a... See, when I upload a video, I have to click a little checkbox that says either yes, my content is made for children, or no, it is not made for children. There is no it's made for everybody option. It is a simple yes or no question, which is kind of scummy. So I always click no, because no, I'm not addressing children specifically. I'm addressing anyone who happens to watch these. Again, presumably mostly my peers who are not children. So I can see, thinking of the old COPPA scare from 10 years ago, where everyone was like, oh, channels are going to get struck down because of, having bright colors even though they're not made for kids. I was reminded of that, and I thought to myself, it's funny how we all kind of forgot that was ever a thing. But yeah. So that's theory number 2. Again, not as likely. It almost certainly is definitively that Google is just swarming for my data, and they're not going to get it because I have no intention of ever monetizing this channel. This is just a hobby, and it always would be. Even if I did make it big, which I never thought was likely, but even if I did, I never would monetize this channel. This is just me just doing something a little fun. So that's where that all stands. Now, theory number 3 is by far the least likely. But it is the most interesting, so I'm gonna share it. So not sure if you can tell, I'm not Japanese. There are plenty of days when I wish I was, but I am not. But I have studied the Japanese language a little bit. A little bit. You know, in terms of taking actual official classes, I've only really gotten not much further than just studying the character set. So like, I don't know many Japanese words. I know some, not really enough to string together a meaningful sentence, but I know some. But it's something you kind of forget, or at least you do if you're me, is that when you're learning a new language that uses a different set of rules, you have to learn what sounds the characters in their language represent. Like, for example, you know, when you were little, you had to learn that the letter A, that shape, that you know, squiggle on the paper represented the ah sound. I don't remember having to ever learn that. I can't remember ever not being able to read, but I'm experiencing that now, obviously, because Japanese uses a very different character set. And because I have studied the character set, at least, I know most of their phonetic alphabets. Because they have two, and then they have kanji, which are entire words represented by single characters that can be pronounced multiple different ways, which is fun. But their phonetic alphabet, at least, I am somewhat familiar with. I wouldn't say I am completely fluent in it, but I know the basics of their phonetic alphabets. Most of the time, basically, if I see a character from the Japanese phonetic alphabet, I know what sound it's supposed to represent. And because of that, I know some interesting little nuances about how the Japanese language works, and especially how it differs from English. Namely, in terms of what kinds of sounds and sound combinations do and don't happen in the language. I'm not going to go in deeper than that right now, just in case this really is it, even though I don't think it is. A few months ago, I was watching a video about a bad game, a bad old game, or not a bad old game, but a bad game that was made. Because I enjoy those videos of dissecting bad games and what makes them awful. And I think I'm about to hit a cutscene here. So I'll shut up for a second. No cutscene? Ah. Cutscene. So anyway, as I was saying, I was watching a video a few months ago about dissecting a bad game. And I'm going to skip the song here because we're getting close to being able to have it complete. So I want to save it for the end. I want to save it for when it's fully complete. And in that video, apparently one of the devs of said bad game cited a Japanese developer as an inspiration, or a source of inspiration for what they did. And in that interview, they misspelled the Japanese developer's name. And because I understand some things about how the Japanese language works, I realized the spelling mistake was a lot more egregious than it probably would seem to be in English. Hold on, cutscene. I leave everything up to you, random child who just wandered in here. I'm gonna finish my story before I get into this level. So I realized that the spelling error was a lot more egregious than it probably would seem to an English speaker because I realized that the misspelling made a combination of sounds that would not happen naturally in the Japanese language. And again, it was a Japanese person's name. So I thought that was interesting. So on that video, I posted a comment explaining this point because I just thought it was interesting. I then realized that I could have worded things a little better, so I went in to edit the comment. I clicked the edit button, I made the edit, I clicked the post button, and I got an error message. Something about like domain does not exist or something or other. Out of curiosity, I refreshed the page. My comment was gone. Luckily, I thought to copy paste it, so I copy pasted it, I made the change, I posted it. Out of pure curiosity, I tried to edit it again just to see if it would happen again. Once again, I got the error message. Refreshed the page, my comment was gone. A little while after that, I posted the first video of this Let's Play. And in it, I discussed the Japanese language's nuances and how Joka's name works. 1 week later, I get told my channel privileges have been revoked. This is almost certainly a coincidence. I highly doubt that this is the case, but it is a funny coincidence. Is talking about some interesting quirks of the Japanese language considered spreading misinformation on YouTube? Do English speakers think that this is all just made up nonsense? I doubt it, very highly. But it is just a funny coincidence. So I just thought that was worth bringing up. Again, least likely reason, but probably most fun to think about. So anyway, those are my conspiracy theories. Now on to this level, which... So, the gimmick here is that we have something resembling a day-night cycle. When it is dark, platforms appear, this jerk appears and chases you, and all enemies become invincible. When there's light, enemies are not invincible, the platforms don't work, these little ones here, and this ghosty goo thing disappears. I'm not sure why the Sun Temple would have platforms that only appear in the dark, but I'm guessing that's just for gameplay purposes. Also, about the Ploum, the wiki only has information of how they work in-game, but one of the things about them that's a little interesting is that they can phase through, solid objects. Just like this ghosty goo here. But this ghosty goo doesn't bother me nearly as much as they do. So I don't know why I find them so uniquely creepy. Anyway, so that's the gimmick of this area. And it's a cool idea. Obviously, day-night cycles have been iterated on and improved on since this game came out. Keep in mind, this game came out, I don't know when. It was during the PS1 era, so... It's a neat idea for a mechanic. Unfortunately, I don't think it was implemented very well. Especially when it comes to the final boss, because the final boss also uses this mechanic. And, I have thoughts on that. But, we're just going to proceed for now. Ow. Ow. Yeah, the chaser enemy, maybe not the best idea. But, eh. And the thing is, enemies being invincible in the dark is not a bad idea in concept, but because so much of the platforming depends on being able to use enemies, it gets a little obnoxious. Also, it's kind of weird how a solar eclipse is causing a darkness and light cycle. I'm pretty sure if there was an eclipse, there would be darkness and then light, and then it would be over. I don't know why we're phasing in and out of darkness, but whatever. Not the big problem here. I think that there's just stuff and things through this door, which is important because I'm trying to get everything. So yeah, neat idea. It kind of clashes with the basic mechanics of the game, what would be called the primary gameplay loop, I guess. Because the platforming mechanics depend on you being able to interact with the enemies, and this mechanic just says half the time you can't do that. Add a chaser enemy during those times when you can't interact with the enemies. It's just kind of annoying, unfortunately. I want to use you to break the egg. Nope. Hey! Well, so much for that. So yeah, you basically have to just dodge around and wait for the light to come back, which they tried to make it a little more interesting by having the thing with the platforms, which good on them for trying, but it doesn't really work, unfortunately. Question. No, I think this over here is the path to stuff and things. Yes, I believe so. So yeah, fundamentally good idea, doesn't really work in practice. And it especially gets asinine when we get to the boss, as I'll show you. Anyway, other stuff to talk about. I do have other things, actually. About a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, I posted a poll in the community tab to ask about which game I should play after the next game I'm going to play, because I know I'm going to play after this, but after that, I'm not sure. I've only gotten 2 votes on that poll, so please, really, truly, and seriously, please go to my community tab and vote on that, because it's 2 votes, and they're both for different things, so there's currently no winner. And I'm genuinely curious what anyone who watches my channel would be more interested in, which premise sounds the most intriguing. So yeah, please go do that. What else? Oh yes. Can I also comment a little bit on the events of the previous video? Obviously, I wasn't in the right mindset to really appreciate what happened at the end of the last episode while it was happening. So can I please just comment on how ridiculously extra Joko was? Like, he blows up Grandpa's house, and then he sends down a UFO tractor beam to pull up the pendant. Could he not have done that without blowing up the house? You know? Oh dear. That was so unnecessary, but I mean, obviously he's supposed to be a bad guy, and he succeeds as a bad guy for that, at least. I also want to call attention to the fact that even when I wasn't in a good mood, I physically got chills from that scene when Klonoa screams for his grandpa. That last scream. I have cried at that scene before, and even when I was in a sour mood, I still felt a chill down my spine. And I want to draw attention to the fact that it's amazing and impressive that scene can get such a reaction out of you, out of a person, I should say, considering that is literally the second time in the entire game we even see Grandpa. Just think about that for a second. We see him once, and then we see him die. That's his entire involvement in the whole game. But somehow, it's hard to say how, but with the presentation, you still get a sense of genuine loss from Klonoa's cry. It's, you know, nowadays there's a lot of discourse about, you know, earning character moments. And for the most part, I tend to agree, where characters are where we're kind of expected to care about characters without them having really done anything to earn it. But it's hard to say what exactly Grandpa in this game did to earn it. But he must have done something, because you genuinely feel heartbreak at his loss. I have a stance about art that I think is worth bringing up in this context. In my opinion, my estimation, art is not about making something pretty or pleasing to the senses. Art is about making something that causes people to feel something. It doesn't always have to be something good. Like, I've seen people complain about movies that, you know, weren't entertaining because they were too uncomfortable, and it was like, well, uncomfortable was the mood they were going for. Side note, these guys here are the epitome of bad depth perception. These guys who, like, fly across the plane that we're on, you have to catch them. And I do need to bring one up there. Or over there, I should say. This is where the difficulty with depth perception in this game is worst. And also because you can only catch them 50% of the time. I've had major problems with them in the past, and I apparently am going to continue to do so. So watch me try desperately to figure this out. And mostly just get lucky, honestly. Have the light be on and catch an enemy while this platform is actually in range. And hope that the light lasts. Because if the darkness comes before I make my jump, this disappears. Okay, we're good. Anyway, as I was saying, so art is about making something that causes people to feel. It is about the sharing and expressing of emotion. This is why AI cannot make art. AI can make something pleasing. It can make something pretty, or, you know, pretty to look at, pretty to listen to. It cannot express and intend to convey an emotion. Now, if what something makes you feel is annoyance, that's not art, that's incompetence. But if you feel the emotion that a work was trying to convey, then exactly how it gets there doesn't matter quite so much. It's art. And because this game makes you feel something for Grandpa, even though it doesn't really quote-unquote do anything to earn it, which is really difficult to quantify because clearly it does something right, this game is a piece of art for the emotions that scene brings out. You know. And I really do think that's worth highlighting. But regardless of... Because in modern day I found that we're a lot more cynical, and there's some entertainment to be garnered from that. You know, cynicism and critiques of what does and doesn't work in media. I'm as susceptible to that, you know, train as anyone else. There are a couple of channels I subscribe to who solely do that. But it is kind of getting to the point where if something just works, that's not enough nowadays. By the way, the gimmick here is we have to free this moo so we can use it to jump to the final spot. And we have to go through this whole area without any enemies, which I guess this is the best place to do the darkness mechanic because you're not expected to interact with enemies either way. They all have armor, even in the daylight. But then that also kind of renders the darkness mechanic completely pointless. I don't know. They were trying. They were trying. I'll give them that. But yeah, generally nowadays, if something just works, that's not enough. You know, it has to hold up under scrutiny, which in some cases has its benefits. But in some other ways, it's kind of like, you know, this game, it's extremely short. The pacing is very rushed. You know, you can easily critique Grandpa's role in the story as you literally see him twice in the entire game, and one of those is his death scene. But I think it would be more interesting to dissect why it does work despite that. I am not knowledgeable or intelligent enough to hold that discourse, but I think it's an interesting thing to think about. What is it that this game does so right? You know? So anyway, now we're coming up on the end of this level. And now I'm going to complain. This boss fight is not fun. And that also is worth highlighting.
Kita eating gold. See, kids boldness. Oggi te vol. Verrà in calm once.
Also, this villain, fairly generic, not much to him. Nowadays, this kind of thing wouldn't fly. You need a nuance, you need a tragedy to him. And I guess he's implying a tragedy about being sealed away, but I read the manual story to you, so you know that the reason he was sealed away was because he was already trying to do this. He's functional as a villain. He fills a role and does it well. He doesn't have to be complex. Not everything does. It just has to work. And I'd say Gaudius works. You know, there is an evil, malevolent spirit that wants to turn all to darkness. This is a thing that needs to be stopped, and he's clearly a threat, a genuine threat. He doesn't need to be more than that. Also, he has a really cool design. Okay. So, here's how this boss fight works. First of all, we're on this floating ring that's constantly moving. Right now, that's not a huge problem. What we have to do here is, we have to hit this guy 3 times. If we hit his hands, it just doesn't work. Aiming is dang near impossible because of the non-existent depth perception. But it's doable. This ring is constantly moving. And that's not just aesthetic. My hitbox, the enemy's hitboxes, all of these are constantly fluctuating. And now, we're going to include the darkness mechanic. He has this transformation scene into a plesiosaurus or something. Now the enemies are still here, but they're now invincible. In order to turn the lights back on, you don't just have to survive. You have to turn all of these cubes yellow, like this is a game of Cubert, while avoiding these invincible enemies, while avoiding Joker's attacks also. And again, our hitboxes are constantly in flux. This is annoying, because you have to dodge these things. You can't do anything about them. You have to dodge his sweeping attacks. And jumping over his attacks and the enemies is difficult because where you are in space is constantly changing. I have rage quit this fight 3 times. Actually, I don't know how many times it's been. It's been at least twice. However many times it's been, I have repeatedly rage quit this fight. It might not seem so bad now, but either A, I'm just in the right mood, or B, things are about to get a lot worse. And they just got worse. Wonderful. I think this fight would be infinitely better if these enemies did not appear during the darkness phase. If instead of being invincible, they just weren't here. Because then you could just focus on dodging his attacks while you try to light up the blocks. Like, here's the thing. You're trying to do 3 things at once during the darkness phase. You are trying to avoid his attacks, which are much stronger than the ones he's doing right now, which are barely even attacks. You are trying to avoid these invincible enemies that you can't do anything about besides dodge, and you're trying to step on all the blocks to turn the lights back on. That's too many things to do at once, in my opinion. If it was just dodging his attacks and stepping on the blocks, that would be a challenge without being asinine, you know? Because on paper, all of these ideas individually are, you know, fairly decent. They're kind of clever, they're kind of unique. It's in conjunction that they don't really work. There's too many things to keep track of. And again, I did really good here. I think I'm just more in the zone right now, maybe because I'm not already kind of exhausted. But this fight, I see the vision. I do. But it's not fun. It is a chore at best. And again, the depth perception and like the constantly fluctuating hitboxes, it all just feels very loose. I don't know if you can tell this from just watching, but it all feels very... It doesn't feel good to play. It feels very, like, you know how, if you're an adult, maybe you know this feeling. If you're driving during a rainstorm or a snowstorm, and you can technically keep control of yourself on the road, but you're like white knuckling it and you grip the steering wheel really hard as if that'll help when it will not really. Yeah, and now the blocks have to be stepped on more times because increase in difficulty, I guess. Ow. It feels like that. Playing this level feels like driving on a slippery road. Oh, you do multiple spins now. Okay. Okay, that's neat. Cool. Now you did see that I did just get some health. But Not enough. Not... Ow. Not enough. What is happening? I will say this, I've always rage quit before I got to this phase of the boss, so I'm actually doing pretty well here. But it's not fun, it doesn't feel good to play, and now he's jumping. Fantastic. This is not fun. I can only say that so many times. If I lose this, I'm going to cut to me winning, because this is going to take some doing, and I don't like it. Did you just get hit? Yeah, and you can hit him 3 times maximum before he auto skips to the darkness phase, or if you take too long, you again skip to the darkness phase. Oh look, it's the slightly less bad ring. So, like, playing Bullet Hell and Hubert and Klonoa at the same time, not fun. So I'm gonna skip here. Oh. Okay. Alright, that wasn't so bad. Now watch the video corrupt. Ooh, FMV. So now I guess we're reaching out to the 3 kingdoms, and they're being forced to non-consensually summon the Moon Kingdom. Not sure why there's a sun temple designed to do that, but I guess it kind of makes sense, I guess. Yeah, PS1 FMV, look at it. It's very pretty. Why? That's not what the... Ooh. No, it has teeth. But that's not what the Moon Kingdom is for. It's to spread dream energy. Whatever. Yeah, let's skip that. Well, I'm gonna leave that here. So thank you so very much for watching if you did. I really do appreciate it, really and truly, especially after the last episode. I am going to be very, very extra super mindful of my mood when recording these things, because every time I try to record and I'm not in a good mood, it just comes out terrible. That is the reason for the hiatus of 2 weeks, is because I wasn't in the right mood. So sorry about that, but I'm gonna be very careful not to mess up like last time again. So yeah, thank you so very much for watching if you did, and I look forward to seeing you next time.